my brother and my colleague, our Cabinet Secretary for Transport, CS Macharia, and all of you, my colleagues from the national government and my colleagues from the field who are here today. Let me first of all start by saying this. Almost exactly 1 year to the day, those of you, my colleagues from the Ministry of Interior, we were in this room with His Excellency the President last year before Christmas. We had a very good discussion. On that day, we launched several documents for the National Police Service. And since that time, we have undertaken several activities, or a lot of work, successfully. So I start first of all by thanking the Lord Almighty that He has kept us throughout the last 12 months, and we are meeting here today, all of us in good health, and we continue to serve our country. Secondly, let me thank you, as always, ladies and gentlemen. As your colleagues from the ministry headquarters, we do not take it for granted that our country is safe and secure. And PS Kibicho reminds me every time, I don't know if someone can fix this up because holding a microphone is such a burden.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah, this gives me a measure of freedom. I was saying that we do not take it for granted that PS Kibicho reminds me every time that in my responsibility as Cabinet Secretary for Interior, I have to always make this commitment to the country or the public every time I have this opportunity. Our country is safe and secure. And we are safe and secure because of the work that you people do. All of you colleagues, regional commissioners who are here, the county commissioners, the regional security teams, the police commanders, I know that oftentimes you go way beyond the call of duty to ensure that our country is safe and secure. We do not take it for granted, and I want you to know that we very sincerely, as your leaders, but most importantly, as citizens of this country also, we appreciate the work that you do. And over the last 1 year, we have worked together on illicit brews, we've worked together on slot machines, we've worked together on certain security incidents in some parts of the country, we've worked together on several activities, and now we are supporting the education sector in ensuring that we have clean exams. We are very, very grateful to all of you, and I would like you to know that as your colleagues, we sincerely appreciate you and appreciate the work that you do. And we will continue to support you as we move forward. Now, one more time again, the call of duty is here. We are about to undertake a very important exercise. But in addition to the exercise, and you will allow me to speak to you, in the usual way of a conversation as a family. We are going to carry out this exercise, but in a sense, actually, we are beginning a journey, a long journey towards restoring order and the way in which we manage the public transport sector in our country. And let's not delude ourselves. Let's not pretend. For us in the security sector, unless, and I think I will be failing in my duty if I didn't say this, to you and to the country, one greatest example of how we are almost institutionalizing lawlessness in our country is how the public transport sector is operating. And if we do not act now, we will soon have a lot of problems in securing the country. We are dealing with a sector where people have actually decided to be almost a law unto themselves. I will shortly talk about border, for example, in the country. Each police commander in this audience knows the pain and trouble we are going through because of border across the country. And this public transport thing has slowly grown into some sort of monster, And slowly but surely, if we do not take decisions and firm decisions to bring ourselves back to order, we will lose our societies. Where else on earth would you find people? You buy your vehicle, you are a public transport investor. You buy a vehicle, you want it to ply the route of Nairobi and Ongata Rongai. But before that vehicle operates on the road, you have to pay some mad person some 50,000 shillings, some faceless characters, for nothing. There's no contract on what you will get in return for the 50,000 shillings. And they keep collecting that amount of money. These are people you will not name. If you are a matatu operator, you will not name them. You ask someone how many people belong to that committee that receives the 50,000 for you to be able to be on that route. And then this happens especially in our main urban centers across the country. You pay these people 50,000 for you to be admitted into a route. And these faceless people, but they are a cartel over a period of time, they are hardened and they now face us in the security sector and make it difficult for us to bring about law and order. I want to tell you this, and for me, this is the key message I brought to this audience. We must change, and we are going to change, because we cannot continue to live this way. No one has lied to us that it's going to be a walk in the park. What we are about to undertake is a tough journey, but we will walk that path. Or else we will lose, slowly but surely we will lose the country. I've been telling my colleagues that if we don't sort out this madness, soon enough people are going to come and live in your house or demand to live in your house. And the only way you can keep them out is by paying them money so that they don't live in your house. It's as simple as that. You will have to pay them. So you persuade them by paying them not to come and live in your house. And this lawlessness has to come to an end. And let us not pretend about it, my friends. This is criminal living which we cannot accept. So let us start that journey. Our vision, as has been articulated by my colleague, is that beginning now, especially this festive season, we don't have the kind of madness we had last year. I mean, Jim did not tell you, but the truth of the matter is that he and I, people like Boynet, P.S. Kibicho here, we didn't sleep. An accident takes place somewhere, we're woken up at night, and it's agony and pain. And each one of them is a story. You know, Salga, I don't know what has happened, the guy was traveling at night and so on and so forth. We will not live that way. Now, we have to take back the manner in which we manage public transport. The set of actions that I'm going to outline shortly are just the beginning. And we have taken a longer route this time. It's not going to be a short-term measure. We are going to institutionalize our response to this as we go along, so that we build institutions to address this issue today, tomorrow, and always, so that we all must be brought back to sanity, so that we can live in an orderly manner. So, my colleagues who are here, especially the regional and county security teams, we will focus on the whole chain of responsibility. You know, in most cases, when accidents take place, and I'm honestly very proud of what the DPP has done today, in demanding that we go after the bodybuilders and we go after the insurers. We will soon have a meeting with the regulators of the insurance sector. But let me say this, and let me take the liberty as a citizen. Now I'm speaking not even as a citizen. The kind of idiocy and madness we have seen in the insurance sector cannot be allowed to prevail. You people, if I asked you here, do you know of any one of these accidents that have taken place recently where the victims have been compensated by any insurance company? There is the case we have of the Matatu that rolled on Ngong Road, where our children, some of them university students, lost their legs and so on. To this day, the dance is going on in court. We are not going to carry burdens for anyone. Some of these insurance companies, we go after them. Let us meet in court. If it's taking away their licenses, we take their licenses. Whether to Kutane Ukumbele. Because you see, right now, if you went to some of these bus stops, their characters, they are brokers, giving insurance stickers. Some of them are fictitious. We have to be firm, and I support what the DPP has done. We go after the insurers, we also go after the bodybuilders. Kenyans should know there is a law in this country. There are standards that have been introduced by NTSA on the standards of bodybuilding. What kind of bodies you can build. My suggestion to you, and your IG has given you instructions, police commanders, is if there is no certification and there's no approval on how those bodies have been built, arrest them, tow them, lock those vehicles. We have to go after everybody. And the circle or the chain of responsibility is long. I mean, it includes the owners. Of course, I've talked about the insurance people, the drivers, the touts, although this is an issue I would like to go over again, the drivers, the police, our people at the Motor Vehicle Inspection Unit. I've talked about the bodybuilders, and most importantly, also the passengers. You know, if you go to a bus stop, the vehicle is full, and you decide to be the 15th passenger, you should be arrested because you are equally breaking the law, because you know what the law is. I'm asking the police commanders, let us not have mercy on this one. Let's go about it ruthlessly. Passengers who get into overloaded vehicles should also be arrested, so that we bring about sanity as we go forward. And what we will do in the following few days as we undertake this exercise, this morning I told the PS in charge of correctional services to increase our budget to the prisons department for remand for this month and next month, because we will have more visitors. Yes, I am very serious about this, and if Dorcas processes them fast enough, we have a new way of using this idle capacity in our farms, in our prison farms and other places across the country. We cannot live this way, because this thing is running out of control, and we are accepting as though this is the way we are supposed to live. So we have decided to adopt a long-term approach to this. This is not a 1 month or 2 month affair. We have set up a multi-agency team jointly with the